Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Greater Albuquerque Hotel and Lodging Association, GAHLA, we'd like to welcome you all here for this mayoral forum. I know some of these candidates here to my left have been through this a few times, but we're going to try and provide a perspective on behalf of the people in this room. GAHLA represents 150 members, including 65 top hotels, local hotel operators, developers, and tourism partners, most of which are small minority or women-owned businesses. A strong hospitality industry drives in economic growth, improves quality of life, and strengthens our city's future. Our mission is threefold: to advance hospitality, essentially grow the industry through partnerships, development, and community impact. Second, to educate and inform, share insights on key issues and trends. And three, advocate. Serve as a unified voice for the hospitality industry across local and state governments. Together, we are stronger. So I'd like to introduce our 2025 mayoral candidates. We've got, and I'll start from this way, and we've got Mailing Armijo, Executive Director, Elevated Lending Community Development Corporate. And then to her left would be incumbent Mayor Tim Keller. And then to his left is Luis Sanchez, City Council and retired APD officer. Then you've got Alex Ubayez, former U.S. Attorney for New Mexico. And then Eddie Varela, former fire chief. And Darren White, former Bernalillo County Sheriff and City of Albuquerque's Public Safety Director. So again, we're glad you guys made time for us and to join us. And at this point, I'd like to hand it over to our moderator, Gabrielle Burkhart of KRQE News 13. She's an investigative reporter and NM Insider's podcast host. Gabrielle will be asking each candidate a total of 4 prepared questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. There will be a 30-second warning to wrap up. A 30-second rebuttal will be allowed when a candidate is specifically referenced. However, please remember this is a forum, not a debate. After our questions, if time permits, additional questions will be asked by the GAHLA membership. So at this point, I'd like to invite Gabrielle.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thanks for that introduction, and thank you to our candidates for participating. As he mentioned, these candidates have probably been to quite a few of these, but these are pretty industry-specific questions. So we want to remind our candidates, if you can please stick to answering the specific questions. And I will go ahead and get started. Are my timekeepers ready? They will, just so the candidates know also, they'll hold up a 30-second time cue for you all. And each person will get 2 minutes. So the first question: hospitality remains Albuquerque's second largest revenue producing private industry. Lodgers tax collections have rebounded since the pandemic. The sector employs more than 49,000 people, and tourism continues to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in positive public relations for the city. Hotel owners are investing millions to improve existing properties, and multiple new developments are underway, creating jobs, increasing the tax base, and strengthening the local economy. Despite these contributions, the value of our industry is often overlooked. The hospitality community is seeking a formal seat at the table to provide feedback and support your administration's efforts to improve Albuquerque. If elected, will you appoint a hospitality liaison within your administration to serve as a direct point of contact for our industry? Mailing Armijo, you've got the first question.
Hi, yes, so I'm very familiar with your industry because part of my job is doing the SB 504 program. Is this really loud or is it just me? No? Okay. And so what we do is we do 35% of the loan in parity with the bank. So I understand all of the things that the hotel industry deals with when it comes to PIPs, the seasonality of your business and all of those things. But I also have seen your financials. So I know how well you're doing and how well you're not doing. And you're right, you're contributing to this economy. So absolutely, yes, I would be happy to have you at the table. And the reason why you're not, I'm surprised, because the amount of money that you contribute to our economy and jobs is unprecedented. Considering how stagnant our economy is, you still manage to keep us going. So I thank you for that. But it felt like a yes/no question, so I'm just going to say yes. Is that good? I mean, I could take the 2 minutes, but I'm not as polished as Mayor Keller. So.
Okay. Mayor Keller, if you'd like to take that question.
Sure. Well, it's good to be here. Thank you for inviting us all, and it's good to be back at the Ranchers Club. I know it's been a long time for me, so we're grateful to see this back open, and this hotel actually on the rebound as well. Now, I would mention a couple of things with respect to the question. Number one, I think a mayor also has to understand they're the ambassador in many ways for tourism. So what you say matters. What you say is replicated throughout blogs and everything else in the tourism industry. And hopefully I've demonstrated that I have been a champion for this city. And I think that comes through in all sorts of different ways that we've been able to work together. And I also just want to take a minute to appreciate tourism. It's not just like a lot of money. It's $2 billion. Let's just be clear about that economic impact. It's about 45,000 jobs. It's the single largest employer other than things associated with the federal government and defense. So this absolutely is critical to our city, and that's never lost on me. I also know that there's about 6 million people who come here every year. And so we have to work together in every way to continue to increase that number. And that's why we do what we do with the convention center, Visit Albuquerque, in a working partnership. And part of that, I think, is we have the predecessor to the liaison job, which has been, in my administration, as you know, Sanjay Bhakta. So I love the idea of a liaison. He's tried to retire twice. We should have a formal liaison. But I think what I've demonstrated is a commitment to that collaboration. And it's been seen and witnessed through his work with all of you in so many different ways at the highest levels of City Hall. Now, I think I would also just touch on that for us, we also know that we have to continue to do things with that role. So it's not just about having the role, it's about making sure that it's impactful. And I'll give an example, the hospitality district that we put through and that now we have supporting Visit Albuquerque. That is because of the communication that I had with many of you at Visit Albuquerque and through Sanjay. And that's what we need to do more of.
Thank you, Mayor Keller. Same question, Luis Sanchez.
Thank you. I was actually on board as a sitting city councilor. I was actually on the board, and I'll tell you, one of the biggest concerns that I heard from each and every one of you was the crime and the homeless problem that's out there on the streets of Albuquerque. One of the biggest things that happens almost every single year is that we get visitors that come from out of state and actually stay at a hotel, and then all of a sudden their car is stolen. As a police officer, we would investigate those crimes all the time. But one of the things that's crazy is you all need basically a liaison to make sure that all of these needs are getting looked at. If you should be able to walk right into the mayor's office and tell me, hey, we just had an issue at this hotel, or here's the issues at this hotel. We could work, as mayor, I will work on your infrastructure as well. If we can do something outside to make it safer, if we can do something in the street to make it easier to come in, those are the things that I want to make sure that we're doing for you. If it's positive and it's going to make your business better, we could even work on finding ways to have a better facade, better greeting areas for people to come in. I think it would really help the industry. I think it'd be awesome to have I would like to put a hotel corridor with convention and with convention corridor, like a hotel corridor, so that everybody knows that if there's a convention in town, we all work together. I've been to the board meetings. It's really amazing how each one of you collaborate and get together, and I will keep that with the liaison being there for every single meeting that you have. I think it's important that we expand on grant programs to make sure that there is resilience in this industry. And if there's something that's happening where each hotel is having an issue, you should be able to come to us so that we can help you, whether it's financial, whether it's crime, doesn't matter what the issue is. I will be that mayor that's going to listen to you.
Okay, thank you. Same question, Alex Ubaez.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all. And again, echoing the thanks to the industry that you all supports. The hospitality and the housing for folks who are coming to bring not just their families and themselves to enjoy our wonderful city, but their money to spend here and buoying our dining, our entertainments, and everything throughout the city relies on them having a bed to sleep in at night. And so, thank you for the work that you do. To answer the question directly, yes, I think we do need a liaison. I'm a big believer in the feedback loop so that we can hear from you the things that are working, the things that are not working. Because I believe at base, what we are doing here, and you are all part of this great group project that is Albuquerque. And so with your feedback of what is working, what is needed, how we can bring more people here as a piece of the full ecosystem that is tourism and folks visiting and the folks who live here who enjoy it. That is how we build out the systems that better support you, how we respond to your needs more quickly. And I commit to always being a listener and always being a partner in that effort.
Thank you. Next candidate is Eddie Varela.
Thank you for having us this evening. This is a lovely place. I hadn't been here in a long time either, so it's nice to come back. Will I support a liaison in the city? Of course I will. But when you have a liaison, that is the expert in your business, what your industry, which is a hospitality industry. The city is built with many, many different kind of directors, and we have an economic development department where we actually talk about economic development. Well, that's you guys as well. With the massive amount of money that you generate deserves, in my opinion, a full-time position in economic development. And I'm serious about it. We have full-time positions for people who have much smaller interests in our city than hospitality. So I will give you my word that we will have a full-time paid position in economic development representing the hospitality industry, because as a mayor, I have a lot to do, and I'm going to resolve this crime problem. I have real plans, and I'm going to resolve the homeless problem because it affects you quite well. So I will have somebody representing hospitality who's actually a paid staff. That person will come to directors' meetings and let me know what's going on in your industry. And I promise you that will be the person that we put in, and the person will be of your choice. The person you believe would be the person that best represents hospitality, that's who's going to be on my team as an employee. That way, there's nothing lost by, I haven't talked to them in a while, send them over here meetings, and we're going to do that. And of course, you heard me say we're going to stop crime and homeless, I promise you, but we're going to expand on our tourism, the zoo. I want to double the size of the zoo. And I'm going to talk to the Balloon Fiesta people about a second fiesta, because it's massive, and I know you guys benefit from that, and why not have two? And so those are the kind of things that we're going to do to bolster tourism, because that's the backbone of your industry, and actually it's the backbone of Albuquerque. I've already been to the old town, and we're going to fix that and draw more tourists there. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren White.
Good evening. It is really cool to be back at the Ranchers Club and this historic place. You know, if these walls could talk, you have 6 candidates for mayor, and we all know that the stakeholders used to get together here and decide who probably was going to be the mayor and who was not. So it's cool to be back here. It really is. This is a great place. You know, there's that old saying, it's better to have a seat on the table than to be on the menu, because that's the reality of it. You'll get eaten alive if you don't have that valuable input. So the answer, first of all, is yes. I absolutely would support the liaison. The industry, as Mei-Ling was saying, is critically important. It's a barometer to what is happening in your community. If you all are starting to see a slowdown, if you are seeing something that the forecasters say isn't great, you'll be the first ones to let us know, because you will be the ones that are impacted by it. And so having that communication is vital. Our budget is also very fragile. It is very, very fragile. It's dependent on the taxes that come in. There's not a lot of leverage in other places. And so it's critically important that we have that dialogue, that we continue to communicate. And, as Eddie said, we will get into the crime stuff and the homelessness, because that's clearly an issue. Because, the corridor, as I like to say, is our welcome mat to our community. And if it's not in top shape, then we're in trouble. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to rotate who starts the next question, so just so you know. Our next question, our industry urges the next mayor to strengthen the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board, the LTAB, so that it has meaningful influence over how lodgers tax funds are used. While hotels collect and remit these funds directly to the city, our requests for a stronger role in their use have often gone unheard. The LTAB exists, but many of its recommendations have not been acted upon. We are asking the next elected mayor to evaluate the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board beyond a purely advisory capacity and ensure that its guidance carries real weight in city decisions. Would you commit to working with our industry to A, empower LTAB to make substantive, informed recommendations, and B, collaborate with us to ensure lodgers' tax revenues are used in ways that both sustain and grow the fund for long-term community benefit? Mayor Keller, you have the first question.
Sure, and want to directly answer the question, both of them, which is yes. To expound a little bit on those, first, we do have a city councilor here, so I would be remiss not to acknowledge. Well, actually, we have two. That is controlled by city council. So what I want to work with you on is how we change an ordinance. I mean, it would take an ordinance change, but I do think it should be revisited. It's long overdue, and part of what we can do is, I think, build on what we have been doing in a sense of, my administration has been listening. And you see examples of that throughout, whether it was the COVID relief that we did that was really generated from this group, whether it was elevating the Visit Albuquerque contract into a major contract on par with other cities. Those are examples of mechanisms with which we listen to the advisory board. So thank goodness that the advisory board does exist and that many of you participate in it actively. But even that board itself, let's be honest. I mean, that board was kind of the old guard till I came in, and now I think it reflects the hoteliers in our city in an accurate way. And what has happened with that is we've modernized our marketing, and we've modernized Visit Albuquerque. But we have to build towards the future, especially if there is a different mayor or a different city council. And that's why it is important to institutionalize some more power and some more collaboration into law. Now, I would also just share that there's a big piece around reporting that I think we should also look at. What the agencies do with the lodgers tax money that we give them is important. So we should build in much more transparency on that. Mm-hmm. And the return on investment calculations that, Visit shares, but we need to make it consistent. And we also got to make sure everyone pays their lodgers tax. So those are all things I think we can build into a new ordinance.
Thank you. Luis Sanchez?
Thank you. I agree with the questions, and yes, we need to really, really work harder with it. One of the things that I know is, as mayor, what I will be able to do is I'll be able to walk downstairs from the 11th floor and walk into the 9th floor at City Hall and talk to my colleagues, is what I'm going to refer to them, and those are the city councilors. Right now, I've never even been in the mayor's office, and I've been a city councilor for 4 years, so obviously there's not a whole lot of cooperation with council at all in reference to that. And that's one of the things that I promised you, is that I will make sure that I work with city council to make sure that we are all communicating, because you need to do what you need to do with that money. You are the experts, not us. It's you. You folks are the experts. And one of the things that's really, really important is this tax could also be used to actually put together a hospitality resilience fund, which can actually help just in case there's issues or payroll comes up, or you need some infrastructure, or you need something to be built to make the hotel that you're in better, to make sure that we are watching what's going on and making sure that you know what's going on and you'd have control of it. This is something that you need to control, something that you need to work with and work out. I've been to a lot of the board meetings that you have, and the board meetings are that was one of the funnest boards that I've ever been involved in as a city councilor. And one of the biggest things that I got was excellent food. But I'm just, that joking aside, I just want to know that we listened and we worked really, really diligently as city council to make sure that you got your needs met. And one of the things that I will continue to do is if you come to me with any needs, I will make sure that I am listening, and I will make sure that we take care of those needs as quickly and as efficiently as possible so that we can make sure that we are all a growing industry. Thank you.
Can I just touch on that
Thank
first
you.
part? Since you said no personal
let's-
questions, and
yeah.
that was clearly personal about myself.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Just
30
briefly-
seconds.
Okay, so we're going to go back and forth
well-
until that
Well,
happens.
she said it's part of the rules.
So-
that
Well,
I-
if somebody's mentioned by name, they can have a rebuttal. What do you think?
Yeah.
30 seconds, Mayor.
I'll keep it really short. I asked to meet with Louis once, and he sat down and told me to fire the chief and then walked away. And he's never asked for a meeting with me since. In the meantime, I meet with counselors all the time. This is the second time I've seen Counselor Baca today. So I'm always happy to meet with counselors. I always say yes when they want to meet. I haven't been asked since.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
can I rebut?
Not yet. This is not a debate. It's a forum.
Okay, so that's why
you
I
can,
knew
you can
we
use
would
your
get into
next
that.
time if you'd like to, but we'll go to the next person. Alex Ubayas.
Yeah, it's a yes to both questions. I'm a big believer, as I said, in that feedback loop. I think the first piece of that is transparency. So you understanding where the fund is being spent and how those funds are being allocated, and that you working with the board so that they both have that information and it can help us forecast out where it's best allocated. I think in terms of accessibility, and I would support, of course, changing the ordinance to implement these two recommendations. But I think regardless of whether that happens, I'm the kind of leader who likes to listen to folks who are experts on the ground, who see what is happening and can give us good advice about where we should be investing our money, especially because you see it practically and moving day to day. And so I make the commitment, regardless of an ordinance change, to be giving you all a seat at the table and the advisory board a seat at the table. So I will always listen, always share the information so you see where money is being allocated, and always implement good recommendations citywide so we can build this community together.
Thank you. Eddie Varela.
Hi, thank you. We've been to several forums, and at every forum I've been to, people have brought up advisory boards. Okay? Nobody listens to them. Okay? We know that. Advisory boards are just that. They're advisory, and we have city officials who just don't even listen to them. I've seen that in my whole career as a firefighter for 30 years. Advisory board for this, advisory board, and you go in there and you're thinking, okay, now we have an insight to a city hall, and you don't. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that you do, because I'm going to have a paid employee in economic development who's going to address the hospitality people, and we're going to have real communication. Because you heard just now that a counselor only got one meeting with the mayor in 4 years. What chance does an advisory board have? Okay, and I know how this game is played. It makes everybody feel good about executive boards, but the reality is, with a real employee, there's 8,000 city employees. We can find room for one person representing hospitality and economic development. You'll have a direct input to the mayor, which will be myself. And so I will fix this problem. And as far as the lodger's tax and how the funds are spent, there's your guy right there. He'll be an economic, and that's the person you're going to call and say, we do not agree with the way the money is being spent on a lodger clock, and we can fix it because you earned it. You're the ones that earned it. Why not give it all to you as far as I'm concerned? But that's how we're going to do it. We're going to listen to the people who make our city work and make our city prosper, and advisory boards are going to get listened to because I don't think they're listened to at all now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Darren White.
Unlike Louis, I'm not kidding. If I come to your board meeting, I want good food. This isn't a body that got this way from skimping on meals, so please don't. It was a joke, Louis. It was a joke.
Hey, I'm not very far from you.
I'm somebody that will approach this job that I don't know better than your industry. And that's the problem you have sometimes when you get people elected to these heady positions, that they think just because they're, they've been the mayor or the governor or whatever it is, that they think they're those votes have cast wisdom on them about every industry there is in your city, your state, or your country. And that's not the case. And so the answer to both the questions is yes, of course I will. And for the many reasons that you've already heard here, your input is valuable. You are an industry that has a direct impact on our well-being as a city. And so absolutely, without question.
Okay. Next question, I'm gonna again, oh, you got it. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Mei Ling, I'm sorry. Yes.
She already forgot about me.
Go ahead. I didn't know I forgot about you. Are you next to me?
I'm like right here.
I'm confused.
That's okay. No, it's okay. It's okay. So that when you use the word empower, I think vote. Like you should be able to vote. And we did this in economic development. We created a committee that involved industry. And instead of the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board, I would recommend a Lodgers Tax Committee, which was made up of industry professionals that maybe this group decides on or votes on who's in that committee, and then city councilors. And so any recommendations that come in, it's a collaboration between government and between the industry people. You bring it, and then it's already been vetted. You have city councilors that are sitting in that committee, so you know that you have certain feedback as well as that. Of course, we would have somebody from the mayor's office sitting, being there listening, so that we stay abreast and collaborate at the same time. But I think if you want power, you need to have a vote at the table. It's not just a seat, and it's just not somebody who listens. You need to have a vote. You need to be able to say, I voted on this, and this is what our recommendations are. So that's how I would approach that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I'm
no
keeping
worries.
my order. Okay, so we're gonna again go down the line with who starts the next question. So the next question: we recognize the complex and systemic nature of homelessness. However, we remain deeply concerned about slow response times from APD when we request assistance with transient individuals who enter our hotels and refuse to leave. These incidents disrupt our lobbies, negatively impact guests, and place team members in difficult and potentially dangerous situations. There's a real risk of a serious incident if staff are left to manage these encounters without timely support. Is there a plan or alternative response model you would implement to ensure quicker response to these non-emergency but safety-sensitive incidents? And Luis Sanchez, will have you go first.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Mayor should have listened to me when I asked him to fire the police chief. If I have a police chief and he steps on a landmine like that, definitely would be fired. And that's one of the reasons why we can't hire police. Police vet out the police department. They're not dumb. They come out. They look to see what's going on within that industry, within that department, and they do the checking. They talk to their fellow police officers before they make the move, and that is why we are having a hard time hiring police officers, because we can't get them through the door when you have unethical police chiefs working and running the system. They talk about it. It's on video. It's easy to see. So, those are the big issues that we have to deal with. But when you get right down to it, one of the things that I want to do as a police officer, as a mayor and a former police officer, is to make sure that we have a small business justice unit. One of the things that happens over and over and over with all of these hotels and all of your hotels and all the businesses in town is we have miles and miles and miles of data. We have data from ShotSpotter, we have data from video cameras, and none of that data is getting put to use, and we're not making arrests. I myself have actually asked the mayor today. They announced that there's supposed to be a small initiative for businesses and replacing windows. I asked in City Council, I asked the CAO, my business just got their windows broken. How do I get the help? And I still haven't got the help. So that's what happens. We don't have follow-through at City Hall, and I will promise that you will have follow-through on videos, the miles and miles of videos that you have. We can make cases on those videos and make sure that people get the justice that they need and the justice that they deserve for disrupting and making issue or having issues at your hotels. I'll make sure that gets corrected.
Okay, Mayor Keller, would you like your 30 seconds now?
I'll keep it short. It's okay if people don't like our chief. It's okay if you have challenges, but to say that he's unethical is wrong. He's served
Just
our
watch the
department
video.
for 40 years. He cares just as much as any other officer about this department. So just something to think about. Again, you can disagree with him, but calling him unethical, I don't think is appropriate.
Okay, let's go to the next candidate, Alex Ubayas.
Sure, back to homelessness. I think that you're right. This is a complicated question and it requires a complicated response. Right. The problem is we're not properly triaging our response out on the streets, which means nobody gets the response that they need because we're going to the wrong calls. One of my proposals is we need a countywide unified dispatch 911. It needs to be staffed with first responders. What that means is the person on the other end of the phone is able to sometimes solve a problem over the phone, saving the need to actually send anybody out at all. In other instances, they're able to diagnose what's happening and properly triage so we can send the right response. This is critical because there are times with folks who are on the streets with serious mental illnesses who are a danger, both to themselves or to other people. That is where we may need the police response. But there's an overwhelming number of folks who are on the streets who get the same calls into dispatch 911 or 311 who require an alternative response. By peeling those off of our law enforcement partners, we allow our law enforcement and police to do the jobs that they signed up for, by the way, also increasing their morale. And then we get to focus on delivering true solutions to those who are not in that situation of serious mental illness or so underneath the addiction to drugs that they cannot make a coherent decision about what they are doing and need the assistance or even sometimes the law enforcement response. So I think the answer here is thinking intelligently about how we're spreading our resources across the city and getting the people the right responses when they need it, so that when there is a transient individual who is suffering from serious mental illness here, in the foyer, in the hotel, we can get you the emergency response that you need because they're not tied up somewhere else with someone who is not a danger.
Thank you. Eddie Varela, same question.
I want to say this, first of all. We have a great police department. We have some bumps in the road. We've gotten that taken care of. But we only have 93 police officers on duty at any given day. So when I hear this story, you call the police, it takes them half an hour. That's because there aren't very many out there. They're just not out there. So please don't blame the police, blame the administration, because we should not be at 93 police officers a day in a town of 600,000 people. I can fix that, and I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do. I have a crime plan that's going to work. I'm going to call for a curfew immediately on 18-year-olds and under, and I'm going to start a new plan in the high school called Police ROTC, and I'm going to recruiting with this. After a year of training by police officers who have retired, they will go into the police safety aid division, and after reaching the age of 21, we will absorb them into the police department. In the meantime, I'm going to have a police day pool of retired officers from all departments, not just Albuquerque, and they're going to be on the streets because police tell me, and I know a lot of them, that the key to crime is visibility. When's the last time you saw a cop on the street? All right? And that's the problem we have. More cops, shorter response time. It's that simple. It's not a difficult thing, but we've been sitting around here for years with 288 cops on 3 shifts. It's got to stop. On this police day pool, I have retired police officers out there. They're going to be visible, and they're going to be on the streets. So if you have a call and you have a problem with homeless, which I have a homeless plan, I hope that I can share that with you, they're going to be there for you. But this has to be fixed. It has to be fixed now. So we do have a good police department. We just don't have any police. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren White.
Your industry relies on visitors coming to see us and staying here. And right now, nationally, we're known as the city that has deployed the National Guard because our crime problem is so bad and the police department wasn't equipped to handle it. And we have city employees dispatched every day to clean up human waste around our city. That is not a Chamber of Commerce moment. That has to stop, and it will be fixed if I become mayor. For the homeless problem, the reason we have such a homeless problem is because we've made it convenient for them to be here. They feel like they can do whatever the hell they want because we let them do whatever the hell they want. This mess right here at First and I-40, that should have been taken care of a long time ago. There's a man that has a business, a lawnmower business. He's at First and Prospect. And he has to contend with that every day because they sit in front of his business and they shoot up, they do all the other things. It's horrible. How does he survive? And how is that fair to him, that a man who pays taxes, that his business is suffering because we just let the homeless do whatever the hell they want? He told me that 2 years ago, somebody tried to steal one of his lawnmowers and he ran out there to go get it from a homeless guy. And he said he struggled with him back and forth. And when he went back, he got it back. And when he went inside, he said the guy punched him 3 times. And he said when he put his hand where he got punched, he had blood because he didn't get punched. He got stabbed. This is the problem in our community. I'm telling you right now, it ends on day one. We will offer them the services that we've spent hundreds of millions of dollars, and there's nothing to show for it. And so we'll offer them those services that are available. And that's what the Supreme Court said. You have to have services available, and if they refuse those services, they will be cited and they will be arrested. But this is done. It's over.
Thank you. Mei-Ling Armijo.
Hi, so slow response time is due to lack of officers. We just don't have enough officers. So we need to boost recruitment, however that looks, and reevaluate either their pay structure, look at sign-on bonuses, longevity pay, and definitely invest in more technology as far as drones or other things along those lines. But also, once we have boosted recruitment, we need to go back to beat policing and community liaisons. You need to know that there are cops just cruising the neighborhood. There needs to be a message sent as people are casing your hotels that there is a cop not far in this area that is just monitoring the area, not because it's responding to something, but monitoring it. So we need to send out that type of messaging. And, you know, a lot of things as far as the homeless, you know, we need to increase our mental health crisis response teams. We need to fully fund that and put more money into just that specific issue, because a lot of it is mental health, but we need to address it with some compassion. But at the end of the day, when it comes to disturbing your business and inhibiting your ability and your quality of life, we need more cops, and we have to boost recruitment to solve that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Keller.
So, you know, a couple of things always come out in these debates, and I just want to touch on them. You know, number one is APD absolutely enforces the law and does arrest people, and would certainly arrest somebody in the example that we heard earlier. And so I just want to make it clear that, you know, blaming APD for not doing something is also wrong. And there are two Supreme Courts in this country. There's also the New Mexico Supreme Court, and they have said clearly yesterday, it was on the front page of the paper, that you can't do what Darren wants to do. That's not right. And so I think the important thing is to also directly answer the question, because it was specifically about hotels and what you're dealing with. So I want to focus on that. Of course, we need more officers. That's why I've increased the ranks by about 20%. That's also why morale is up. That's also why in the decision between two cops, someone in law enforcement and someone in the military, our police officers have endorsed me for mayor. It is because we have saved this department from falling off a cliff. And now recruiting is up and morale is up. And we are doing that because we understand that you can't just wait for more officers. You can't just bet on a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You have to fight crime today. That's why we use technology. Every single area where we have APD's technology installed, we see a drop in crime. If you are not part of this program, please go to the GAHLA meeting on November 18th with APD's Hospitality Crime Unit, because they will tell you how to reduce crime, not later on when we get more officers, but now. That is what I'm offering. Also, the alternative response, as you know, we'll talk about it, is something I created, the ACS department. They've taken 150,000 of those calls. 150,000 calls that APD did not have to take so they could respond to the calls that matter faster. Those are real answers to the real problems that you're having.
Thank you.
I would like to rebut that, because he did.
He specifically mentioned Darren White, so let's give Darren 30 seconds.
Mayor, you've had 8 years to take care of this problem. Why is anybody in this room surprised that you're not going to do a damn thing for another 4 if you're elected? And so I'm sorry that you feel like you have to hide behind judges. There is a way to take control of your city.
Judges.
You are in charge of this city.
I'm not in charge of the courts, Darren. Like, let's be clear.
Like I said, you've had 8 years to take care of this problem. The homeless problem is doubled. There's 5,000 homeless people in there. They're destroying our quality of life. You're going to tell me that some judge is going to say that business out there where they can't even operate, that family has to live in filth and crime. Sorry.
Okay.
Tell it to the judge.
We don't want to turn this into a debate, because we do have more questions and we want to keep on time. So if you want to respond, you can use your 2 minutes for this next question. It's very similar. So the last question. The Albuquerque Community Safety ACS program has been the subject of mixed feedback. Some believe it provides valuable support, while others view it as a misuse of tax dollars. We've been told by ACS that they cannot remove individuals if they do not want to leave the property. So what's the point of having ACS? What are your views on the ACS program? And if elected mayor, what changes, if any, would you make to improve its effectiveness and accountability? Alex Ubaez, we'll start with you.
I'm a big believer in ACS because I believe that we need to send the right response to deal with the problems we're facing. That is a part and parcel of why we are getting slow responses and non-responses across the board. And so the problem is that we haven't funded ACS and resourced it to the extent that it can actually respond to the problems. I promise as mayor, I will fight for that funding and resources so that it can cover the ground it needs to get people the services and support they need on one end, but also to relieve the police of responding to homelessness and down and out and drug addiction calls, so they actually can show up to the important calls that are coming. I think we need to address homelessness with the same comprehensive approach, right? So it's a medical problem most often that draws people to the streets. It's mental illness and it's addiction, and there is a medical solution to that. It needs to be combined with stability of housing to get people off of the streets permanently and stop pushing them from corner to corner. That means a street medic model and outreach on the front end, so we meet people where they are. We rebuild the trust with the folks who live on the streets who do not trust our city because we've been throwing away their things for so long. We need transitional housing, which is the next step out of a shelter, out of the Gateway Center, out of the West Side Shelter, so people have the stability that they need to receive the medical services that are required for them to get off of the streets. And we actually also need to think about how we deal with those with serious mental illnesses, most often, as we're talking about, falling into the criminal justice system. Now, that may be the immediate response. Someone may need to come and go to jail. But our responsibility as a community then is to diagnose why it is they are in the system, and if it is a serious mental illness, understanding that the deterrence value of a jail sentence doesn't mean anything to someone suffering from psychosis. We need to identify that person in the criminal justice system and connect them with the services and treatment that they need to stabilize them, and then bring them back into our community so they are not repeat offenders and back on your door tomorrow.
Thank you. Eddie Varela?
ACS, I do support it. There's 139 employees, and I see them from time to time on the streets. I'm going to make them proactive. Instead of waiting around for the call, they're going to be walking the streets as well, with security, of course, because it doesn't do any good to be waiting for one individual who has a crisis. I want them out there and visible, because I never see them out there once in a while. But I do support it. It's reduced the call volume for the fire department and the police department. But back to the homeless, which is the problem, all right? I walk once a week with the homeless. I go down to First Street and I-40, and I talk to homeless. I go down there and I visit with them and I listen, because homeless doesn't meet the criteria. It's level after level, different levels of homeless. I'm a compassionate man. I'm a Christian. The people who want help, I will give them help. But people who do not want, I'm going to cite them, and they're going to go, their citations will go to a judge. They're not going to show up, and they're going to get warrants for their arrest, and I'm going to give them the opportunity to go to jail or back to their hometowns, because 50% of them, they're not from Albuquerque. But I am compassionate. This is not a go in there and shake them up like tackle football. We're going to work with these people and get them out of our town and go back where they belong, because they're not productive. Tax-paying people of our community is putting us out of business. I have compassion for females on the street. It's horrible, the life they live. They can't sleep at night. They only can sleep in the day. I know the homeless. I visit with them all the time, and I have a solid plan to remove them from our city and stop paying $200 million a year for homeless.
Thank you. Darren White?
I think it's important, we're all on the outside, the mayor's on the inside, he sees everything. And so I think it's important for a person, especially if there's a new incoming mayor, to look at all of the programs and look at it with a very critical eye. Just to say that you created a department and they took 150,000 calls, that isn't a measurement of productivity. Because what have you done with those 150,000 calls? I think we can all say it doesn't seem like anything's a lot better than it is right now. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm going to do away with it. I will go in and critique that department very carefully to make sure that those services they are providing, they have an impact, to make sure that the mayor says that they are diverting calls away from the police department. I want to see that firsthand. I want to look at that. So just sitting up here saying, well, I created the first ACS in history and we took 150,000 calls, that's fine. The question is, what have they accomplished since they've been put in place and with those 150,000 calls?
Thank you. Mailing Armijo.
So, first of all, the mayor brought up the police union endorsement and why they didn't give it to 2 cops and a military veteran. And I'll tell you why. Typically, they give the endorsement to the incumbent because it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't, right? And in response to this ACS question, we started this talking about how great you guys are, how much money you bring into this community, all the jobs you create. But all of a sudden, when you need us, we're not there. Why is that? Why is it that we can kiss you on one side and then slap you on the other? We don't let you at the table when we talk about all the money you bring in. I mean, I can see where your frustration is coming in. And so in response to this ACS, is it effective? I don't know. I'm with Darren. We need to evaluate what they're doing. But I do believe in the mental health crisis response teams. And if that's part of what they're doing and it's effective, then we'll continue to do that and we will continue to fund it. Thank you.
Gabrielle, she mentioned my name.
Wait,
excuse me.
She said she was
Did I
with
say
you,
dance,
Darren.
dance, dance? I agreed with you.
No.
I didn't bring up dance, dance, dance.
I'm a veteran too. That needs to be
I'm
corrected.
so sorry. He referred to you as a
Don't make me
I'm
come
sorry.
down there, Melee.
Oh my God, Darren. You know why I didn't refer? Because he's Army.
This may be our
This
last
is a forum. This isn't a debate, Darren.
This
is
may
a
be our
forum.
last time together, and it's going to end in a fight.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna
Well,
tell you.
the
I'm
Army,
getting them at the end of
the
everyone's
Army
row.
Navy game's coming up, so I need Darren. I need your cell phone number
Okay.
so I can throw shade.
Thank you, guys. Okay, back to the question: is ACS effective? And what would be your plan for the next 4 years?
That should be a
potentially?
debate watch party. Watch the Army-Navy game with Darren and Mailing.
All right, do it.
I'll join. Just because I like football a lot. So let's see. Quickly, I do want to mention, the incumbent mayor did not get the police endorsement last time. I earned it this time. That's why I got it. Now, I also want to touch on the specific question because I think a lot of folks have mentioned parts of this. But you absolutely have to look at housing. I think that is very real. You've got to understand why these people show up at your door. And that's why you see me sometimes with rundown hotels, converting them into apartments. That's why you see me taking the huge skyscraper at San Mateo and Central and the Wells Fargo building downtown and converting it to housing. So you have to relieve that pressure on one side. And you also have to create somewhere for them to go on the other side. That is the gateway system. That didn't even exist when I came into office. And just in the last 2 weeks, we have opened now 100 more beds for addiction and treatment so they don't end up back at your door. So you have to have that as part of the solution, but I also want to speak specifically to this issue. ACS was not designed to be your first responder. I just want to be clear. So we have to do something in addition that is more about coordination and effectiveness. I do agree with that. So let me give you an example. We have hubs where more than one hotel exists. These hubs, I think we could have a layered response approach. We could say that the fastest person to respond between ACS, city security, and also the private security that we hire, and APD, the fastest responder takes it, instead of delegating it to just one. So I'm trying to proactive problem solve with you. I actually think I'd be happy to meet with you and work on this, because I think if we do that on a shared area, like for downtown, or like for uptown, or by the airport, or certain areas on the west side, I think we could actually do that. I think we could get response times down to like 10 minutes by doing that. So that's a real answer to this question. And I think it's just a hallmark of what this is about. I will problem solve with you, and we will keep moving forward, and we can fix these issues.
Thank you. Luis Sanchez?
Leadership and accountability, that should have been done 8 years ago. When you get right down to it, is I support the officers of the Albuquerque Police Department. I was one, and I served for 26 proud years. And one of the things that's gone on is if we see a 20% increase in police officers, it's got to be the upper echelon. Right now, we have 60 police officers who are making over $100,000 a year. And if we can cut the 60 in half, we could fund 60 more police officers with that. So we have a big bloat up there. When you're looking at going to the police union and that issue, it was the police union, which was 6 people in a room. I actually was fully endorsed by the FOP. Also, there's some history here, and the police union, whoever the police union endorses has never won the election. So when we get right back,
Definitely you don't want a rebuttal on that one.
We go right back to the election. Go right back. Is ACS and PSAs and the technology that we're talking about is money in the wrong place? Think about it. If we're building ACS, if we're building the PSAs, we're building technology. None of those entities can actually put cuffs on somebody. They can't actually make an arrest or make a difference in the community unless there's follow-up. And right now, we're not seeing that follow-up. With 150 cases that were answered, I don't see a difference on the streets. Do you? When you get right down to it, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have an administration that has measurable ACS outcomes. What I'm talking about is when you go out there, I will be tying ACS into crisis intervention team in the police department. We all know that the police department takes reports. ACS should be taking reports and actually building cases to know who they're helping, how they're helping them, and making sure that that help comes. That's not happening. So under my administration, I want to make sure that we have data-driven results to make sure that people, all of you guys know, and the citizens, and even the people that are out there know that they're getting results.
Thank you, Luis Sanchez. All right, Mayor Keller, 30 seconds.
So that's true, everything Luis said, except for in 2017 when they endorsed me and I won.
But there was no incumbent. You said that they didn't support the incumbent, but there was no incumbent.
Right.
Good fact check.
Okay.
You're totally right. My rebuttal is you're
Well,
right.
Yeah, you know,
Okay.
we have to fact check you a lot, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, all the candidates. Those were the 4 prepared questions from the ward, but I want to pass it on to DeWall. If time permits, we have additional questions that were sent in from some of these folks.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
please use the QR codes that are at your tables if you want to submit additional questions. We do have a few already here, and we can continue the order that we already established moving forward for these questions. But first question is, how can the city collaborate with local colleges or trade schools to expand hospitality management and culinary training? Again, this is big for us in this city because we do have a lot of times shortage of a workforce here, or a good workforce.
Okay, if you want to take that one first, Eddie Barilla.
Sure. I'm glad you brought that up because I brought this up at a forum the other day. Years ago, we had all the trades in the high schools, and we had trades everywhere in the town, and then they kind of went away. And now we're trying to rebuild. CNN has just opened a new trade school, and the high schools are lagging way behind in trades. I agree with you. We need trade schools to teach the trades of our young people. Not everybody's going to go to college, and we need workers in the hospitality. We need carpenters. We need plumbers. We need all kinds of people. I'm going to be a big advocate for trades. As a matter of fact, I will consider a trade school sponsored by the city of Albuquerque to address the needs in our community, because we don't have the trade, we don't have the employees we need to move into the future, but we have the young people. All we got to do is get them into a trade environment, teach them a trade. Hospitality is a great trade because it's not going away. It's going to be here forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren White.
Yes, thank you. When I was sheriff, I used to get, every once in a while, the recruiters would bring me applications. We always made them write a personal statement about themselves. And they would bring me these occasionally, and it was astounding what I would read. These were people who graduated from APS, and they were writing on a resume like they were texting. They would use "UR" for your, and it was sad. It really was. And so we talked about this a little bit yesterday at our forum. The city does have services. We need to do after-school tutoring. Again, we do that, but I would say that we need to reinvest more into that. We need to look at vocational training as well. Eddie is right. Not everybody is going to want to leave high school or and then just you go to college. It just doesn't happen. And so we should prepare them by giving them training options in the trades. And Albuquerque's growing. Eddie's right. We're just these services are going to need to be made available, and so you'll have full support from us.
Thank you. Mei Ling Armijo.
So when I went to university my freshman year, I worked at what is now Hotel Albuquerque, is the Sheraton. And I called my dad and I was like, hey, I got this job and I'm doing room service. And he's like, well, you need to go to TVI and learn how to be a waiter. And I was like, what do you, well, that's when we called it TVI, remember? And so, but they used to teach that. My dad told me he went to TVI to learn how to be a waiter, from how you grab your glass or approach a customer at a table. And so, I remember that, and I remember thinking there was nothing that taught me how to be in the service industry except being in the industry. And we need to bring that back. CNM has gotten away from that, and teaching those basic skills, I think, is critical to keeping this industry going. But it's also an entryway and a pathway, because I went quickly from doing room service to like bar backing. Like it was quickly, if you do well, you can do well in this industry. The other thing is that UNM, and I just looked it up, they don't offer a hotel management degree. Now you can get a certificate, but not a degree like University of Cincinnati or other things. So maybe we need to talk to UNM about establishing that type of degree program so that we have those types of professionals that are here in New Mexico. And I think that was it, right? Just CNM and TVI, right? Or not CNM, TVI and UNM and CNM. Damn it, never mind.
We got you. Thank you. Mayor Keller?
I love the high school job stories, or early adult jobs. I sold cookies to hotels for the mini bars, that was a fun one. I would look at it this way. The city, we've been working with CNM. One, you have examples of other industries. So like the film industry, where we're building a giant film academy with CNM at the rail yards, fixing up the rail yards, giving pathways to our children, all of the things that we spoke about. And now we've done this in the trades at a place called Remco Bolt, where they're actually restoring a building and hiring individuals to restore the building, but like as part of the apprenticeship process. So I think there's a lot to build on here. And the question is, how could you do that in the hospitality industry? And I think I would leverage city assets to create these kinds of internships. The obvious example is the convention center, whether it's culinary or whether it is even working the front desk and being the sort of welcome ambassador. These are actually programs that I would be happy to partner with and we can do together. And I think if we take that a step further, we have kitchens all over the city that are used for like senior meal prep, kids meal prep, hundreds of thousands of meals that are made. There again, I think there's good internship opportunities. And we've actually never historically, I will tell you, we've never tried that idea. And actually it's never been brought up to me. So if you say I didn't do it in the last 8 years, it's because no one brought it up and I never thought of it. That's true. But now you did. And I would be happy to work with you on those ways. Those are real answers to this question. I think in other words, the museums. Being a docent is actually a way of like showing off the city, but also working on hospitality. So I think this is a good example. We're here with just a few minutes to think about this. I can actually find productive ways to put this together. That's what I want to do as your next mayor.
Thank you. Luis Sanchez?
Thank you. The first thing that comes to mind is one of the small businesses that opened up, and they're actually a hospitality etiquette business in town right now. So they can tell you how to set a table, tell you everything about etiquette in reference to this industry, which is really cool. One of the things that I think that I would like to do is actually help you all sponsor some sort of a competitive type organization, so that, this is a cool industry. There's so many things. You have the back office, you have the front of the house, you've got the wait staff, you've got the culinary side of it where people can do some cooking. Can you imagine having cooking competitions in the kitchen, having the back office competitions? You could have competitions with the front office, just like they do in high school with DECA and some of the other organizations. Can you imagine getting the kids involved that early on and being involved? They would rush right into this industry. So with me, I would partner with you to make sure that we had those kinds of things in place. Fun, exciting things and dynamic that would build this industry. And it would be a fun time while we're doing it.
Thank you. Alex Ubaez?
Yeah, just jumping on the train of we need to support our youth and give them many options in high school and middle school for what they see for their future. That is the key for everything. Not everyone is meant, right, to go to college. Not everyone is meant to go into the hospitality industry. But we can find these opportunities for kids when they are young and give them hope in their future and hope in this city that they can find something that they will love. I'll partner with all of you because I think apprenticeships and internships are the key. Working to connect the work that you are doing currently with the culinary arts, with hotel management, with general business, the business management, and the skills it takes to run a small business and build it up here in the city, that is where your expertise comes in. And that's why, like I said, I will always have an open door and a feedback loop to this industry, to those people who are building our city. Because working in partnership with you, building in those skill sets to CNM and UNM, and then working with our high schools, APS, and our kids to give those who really want and have a passion for this industry the option, the education, and the pathway to it, I think is the future for our city.
Thank you. DeWall, you have more questions from the audience?
Yeah, one last question, and then and we'll start with Darren, and then after that, we'll do closing remarks. So the final question here from the crowd is, will you support taxing the short-term rental with the same taxes as the hotels pay in lodgers taxes, hospitality fee, and visit ABQ fees, or ATMD?
Sure. That is something I have to take a very, very close look at, because I'm not somebody that's just going to sit here and tell you I'm going to raise a tax or I support the raising of a tax. It would take a lot of deep dives into the books and to look at the entire issue. I don't think I could fairly address this at this point.
Okay. Mei-Ling?
So when you speak of short-term, just for a clarifying point, are you talking like Airbnbs? So here's an Airbnb not being taxed the same way the lodgers are. Is that the question, or? Right. So you want it? The question is will you make it an equal ground between that? So yes.
Okay. Mayor Keller.
Mei-Ling's crushing it tonight. So I would tend to agree. In general, just to be upfront, this is also something that I've already worked on. Many of you know I've sent these kinds of reforms down to City Council and they have not passed. So I'm up for doing it again. I want to throw out some other creative ideas that maybe we could do this around. I'm trying to create community hubs where people live, work, and play. And these tend to be the same places where people want to do Airbnbs. So, we've worked hard to create the Sawmill District. We've worked hard to redo Park Plaza. We've worked hard to recreate Windrock. These are all part of the placemaking economic hub projects that I've been a part of. And they take a long time because we're reversing 40 years of challenges. But Highland is another one, the area around Presbyterian Hospital. And I highlight those areas because what I've been doing is curating our incentive work, making sure that we're creating local jobs, but also creating places to live, work, and play. The challenge is they're often eroded. That live part is often eroded by the fact that everything becomes an Airbnb. So we also might be able to sort of calibrate and tailor some of that taxing and some of those regulations with respect to particular areas where this is a huge problem. Because I think it's unevenly affecting the city. So the answer maybe should also reverse that in a way that evens out the impact across the city. So that's just a little bit of real-time creative problem solving on this issue.
Thank you. Luis Sanchez?
Thanks. One of the things that we need to do is it's a great question, and one of the things that we need to do is we need to make sure that we create a balanced narrative, just like we're all talking. We need to make sure that there's benefits to both. We need to make sure that everybody sitting here is sitting with the other side of the table so we can make sure that we're doing the right things. I think it's important to be, like I said earlier, be data driven. We need to publish the data so that we know exactly what's going on with both sides and where it's at. So I think transparency and building trust with both sides is where I would like to be as mayor, and that's what I'll work towards.
Thank you. Alex Ubaez?
I hear a lot of these concerns too from the neighborhood associations who feel like their neighborhoods and long-term residents are being displaced by folks prioritizing short-term rentals and Airbnbs. And so I do think that the city has a big role in playing in licensing and oversight and yes, taxing fairly those folks who are competing with your industry, but also pushing out people from our historic neighborhoods. I think that would be a priority for me, looking at how we are building this city and how we maintain the culture and feel of our city for our neighborhoods, how we maintain a fair competitive atmosphere fear for all of you, and still make sure that we are allowing folks, when they are licensed, when they're paying fair taxes, to benefit from having a secondary home that they are renting out. And so I do think that there's a middle ground here. I do think that fair taxation is a thing that we should consider from the city side.
Thank you. Eddie Varela.
If I may, can you separate private versus a homeowner who rents out a room? And tell me what you see as the difference so that I can answer appropriately. I'm talking about Airbnbs. Okay, let me give you an example. There's an Airbnb in my neighborhood that a realtor bought, and she rents it out every night. That is not a house anymore, it's a hotel. And it causes massive problems in our neighborhood. In and out, all their kids having parties. Those people need to be paying taxes like a hotel, because that's what it is. Now, if I wanted to rent a room out, which I would never do that, bed bugs, and I would never do that, I should pay something. I should have gross receipts tax, but it's almost always cash. But when I say private, I am assuming you're talking about somebody who buys a house in my neighborhood and starts renting it out every day. That is a hotel. It's no longer a residential area. And I don't even like them, to be honest with you. I would put a zero on those in private sector and stop it because they just opened a hotel in my neighborhood. But do I support they pay the same taxes as you do in a massive building like this for one room? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. Dewal, did we get any more questions?
Yeah, there is a rule that if you're hosting the event, you do get a bonus question. So I'm going to turn it over to Joni Jones, who's the general manager, and she did have a question.
Yeah, she is the GM here, so she's an important person.
Thank you, Dewal. My question is this. In 2021, the City Council commissioned a redevelopment study for the Manal Corridor, which eventually led to an adoption of the Manal Metropolitan Redevelopment Area in 2023, covering I-25 to the North Diversion Channel. This concentrated area has over 1,800 guest rooms, with the majority of the travelers stopping for just one night in the heart of the city here, driving to continue their driving journey. We would like to see this area pique their interests in Albuquerque and come back and tour the city. However, we have not seen much reinvestment or improvement made by the city to this area since the adoption of the MR plan. My question is, do you support the redevelopment of this area? And if so, what is your opinion? What, in your opinion, should the city's priorities be in assisting with the redevelopment and the improvement of the Manal MR area?
Okay, Mei Ling, would you like to take the first one there?
I'm still processing. That's a lot of information. So I'm always in support of development or redevelopment. I think that's important, especially as we want to keep our economy churning. So for me, that's a bottom line. But specifically let me make sure I understand the second part of the question is how do we bring redevelopment to the area, or what is the city to incentivize to bring? Is that kind of where you're going on the second part of your question?
In your opinion, should the city's priorities be, what should the city's priorities be in assisting with the redevelopment?
Oh, with assisting so, I mean, that's easy. I mean, if a developer wants to go and do some work, we need to be working as fast as they are in permitting, planning, plan reviews, getting all of that done so that they can put shovels in the ground. So we need to be very quick. We need to move at the speed of business, especially and specifically in those areas. Depending on the type of redevelopment project they're doing, I would look at if there are certain tax abatements we could provide or what we could do to incentivize so that we can put more money into the project and less money in taxes.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Keller.
Well, I really appreciate this question. It's an excellent one, especially coming from this hotel. And as you know, I signed that MR. I supported the Manal MR, so that was an initiative that I'm glad is now in place. I also signed funding, putting some money into the MR. So the other thing is you have to fund the Metropolitan Redevelopment District. But to answer your question, I think the thesis is about medical tourism. And this is what I want to put together in a sense of just like we did at 7th and Central when we curated Arrive and we curated Ex Novo Brewing. And now we have something that is uniquely downtown Albuquerque and is safe and is vibrant and is awesome. We can do that here, I think, for medical tourism. So it has to do with more extended stay, but a mix of extended stay and short stay. I think it does have a component of adding some short-term apartments for all the same reason. Because what is the benefit, but also the challenge that we bear in Albuquerque? There are many. And as mayor, you have to understand, you get the benefits and the economic impact from all over the state, but you also get the challenges. But one of the benefits we get is everyone comes here for healthcare. And you've got UNMH right there. You've got the cancer center right there. And you know what their number one challenge is when they come here? It's finding a hotel room that is close and also that fits their personal profile economically. That's why you need a wide range of options. So I think that is the future for this area. If I had to just pick one, I'm open to others. But you asked a very clear question. What should the strategy be? I think it should be redevelopment focused on medical tourism, or however you want to sort of term that, people getting procedures, coming in who need to stay. Sometimes because it's cancer, it's for weeks. That's why I mentioned the different types of stay. Sometimes if it's for one procedure, it's a night. This is desperately needed. It's also the highest growth area for hotels across the country in areas where they're next to hospitals. And we even have open land, but we also have existing facilities that we can recalibrate towards this. So a city can be partner in making that happen.
Thank you. Luis Sanchez?
Thank you. First thing I think about is yes, I support the corridor 100%. But when I get right down to thinking about it, all the different things that can be done in this area and up and down the area is one of the things that I'd like to really promote is dine local, stay local, staycations. Open this corridor up so that we can have people in Albuquerque moving from one location to another, restaurants, breweries right in this area. How about a discounted passport for citizens of Albuquerque so that they can go to all these places and enjoy each one? Shoot, you could go to 3 or 4 a night and have dinner at one place, go dancing at another, and then maybe do an after party at another place. Those are the kinds of things that we need to see in Albuquerque so that we can really, really move this area forward. I really like the idea. I've seen our advertisements in Denver. So we need to actually get out and advertise in other cities so that we can make sure that we bring people and more people to Albuquerque than we've ever seen before. One of the things that we lack is we lack a lot of conventions. I think there should be a convention in this corridor every single week or every single day. So that's what I want to do, is I want to get with all the different areas, like Visit Albuquerque, the restaurateurs. I'd like to see the Hispano Chamber, Albuquerque Chamber, all of these chambers working together in these organizations to bring more people to Albuquerque. That's what I will do as a mayor of the city of Albuquerque.
Thank you. Alex Ubayas?
Yeah, I love the frame for this question as well, because I think every opportunity we have to sell ourselves to visiting our city is one we should take. And that really involves placemaking in the places that we live. It means dealing with blight. It means improving infrastructure. It means making it walkable and enjoyable for folks who are just here for a night and go outside. I want to be able to enjoy where they are and like fall in love with the dining or the restaurants and the bars or whatever that experience we're building for them. And so I think that yes, I am a supporter. I think we should invest in building that experience here around our hotels and in this corridor so that people, when they come and see us, they see how wonderful the city is and they want to see more.
Thank you. Eddie Varela?
I've been on a 2-year journey to try to make myself and understand exactly what the issues are. The Manal Corridor, it's a dismal failure from your government. Terrible failure. Look at all the empty hotels, nice hotels, homeless all over the place. I was talking to some homeless people across the street where that restaurant is, and I saw some of the tourists leaving this beautiful hotel and trying to work their way through the homeless to get to the truck stop restaurant over there. And it really concerned me, because these people don't know. They come to our town, you guys went there, this is a beautiful hotel, they stare, and then they walk out into the street. And I actually felt for them, because I see that all over all over. Government has failed you. I will have an employee, an economic development, hospitality guy, and he can help fix this and answer that question. Why hasn't it happened? There's a lot of theory, we should do this, but just walk outside. See? I don't know how you guys do it. You struggle. I know you do. I'll get rid of the homeless people. I promise you. And it'll be humanitarian, and I'll take care of this crime problem. But government has failed you. I'm sorry. I will not fail you. This thing should have been done years ago. It's getting worse.
Thank you. Darren White?
A good start was getting rid of that truck stop that was right across the street. That was a start. And what a problem that thing was. And for years and years and years, I dealt with it when I was cabinet secretary of public safety 30 years ago. And so I was glad to see it go. The restaurant depot's great, but it's still suffering. And Eddie is right. I met somebody over at the new convenience store a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, wow, this is kind of spooky. And I thought to myself, well, it's a good thing you got a gun. But I shouldn't be that way, though. I mean, it shouldn't be that way. And so when then you go up the Manal corridor and you see all those wonderful places, the Range Cafe gone, all boarded up. And so we need to really, really invest in our city. I started this conversation talking about this amazing restaurant and what it's meant to this city for decades and what it was probably like 50 years ago in a smoke-filled room making those decisions. This was the heart of Albuquerque. This is where people came, and everyone did. And we got to get back to that, but it's going to take rolling up our sleeves, getting to work, and cleaning up the mess.
Thank you. DeWald, are they doing closings?
Actually, we have time, and there's a bunch of questions that came in. I want to paraphrase one of them, if I could. And so before we do closing, we have one more question, and I'm going to summarize because there was 3 or 4 questions that were essentially the same, and it really has to do with how we're going as a community in your first year as mayor. What are your plans to bring year-round travel demand, tourism into the city? The questions I'm seeing, a lot of it is about, we rely so heavily on Balloon Fiesta, but, that we have, as an industry, we have a lot of slow times and seasonality. What type of ideas or incentives do you propose to make this a year-round destination?
Okay. Mayor Keller, would you like to take the first one?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing I want to do is look at, we have massive seasonal shifts. So of course there is Balloon Fiesta, there's other high times and there's other low times. And so what I would suggest is we collaborate and look at sort of the calendar and map out where those low times are. And then we map that to the things that we can do. And part of that is also understanding what's happening around us. We have a lot of festivals. I'll give you an example, which is South by Southwest, where everyone is coming in from all over the country to Austin, but everyone who's coming from California spends a night in Albuquerque. How can we get them to spend a week in Albuquerque? That is the idea behind Bands of Enchantment, by the way. And you can see how well it's working. It's actually, accoladed and is very celebrated. But the challenge is there's still not staying enough days. So we've got to look at what can get them to stay here for more time. That's one obvious question. And then the other question is, I have to say, Eddie, we've disagreed on like everything, but I got to tell you, like your Balloon Fiesta thought is absolutely worth looking at. I mean, why not?
Well, thank you, Tim.
And it's a specific idea, which I also appreciate. So I do think we have to look at other events like this, but the other thing is sports tourism. I have to tell you, this is where we have missed the boat. And we know this, if I have kids, like they're going everywhere else for sports tournaments. This is why I finished out the sports complex on the west side so we could have baseball tournaments. This is why we redid Los Altos Park so we could have softball tournaments. This is why I'm working on the indoor sports complex so we can have volleyball and basketball tournaments. This is why I'm working on the giant Olympic swimming pool so that we can have swimming and aquatic tournaments. So to me, the even flow of tourism right now in the Southwest, it is all about sports tourism because there's a gaping hole right now between the states around us and what we're doing, but we're catching up. And I think that's what you see, the real work, the right direction, and now is no time to turn around and go back. We've got to keep doing what works, and sports tourism does.
Thank you. Louis Sanchez?
Right now, we go back to the original thing is we have to deal with the crime and homeless issue that we have in the city, and that's a leadership issue. So we need to make sure that we get a leader in place who's going to directly deal with that so that we can all make money in this town and do well. And that's one of the most important things that I am going to address. as mayor. We have an amazing city. Every single one of us pulls out of our driveway every day and watches an amazing sunset. When we come home, we watch an amazing sunset in the morning. I mean, wait, got that back. We watch the sunrise, an amazing sunrise, and we watch an amazing sunset. And that's something that we all cherish, every one of us, and we need to make sure that that cherished moment is spread across our area. And what we really need to do is we need to make sure that we're bringing more people to Albuquerque with bigger, better conventions. You go to other states and these conventions are massive, and Albuquerque needs to have something like that. I agree with the mayor in reference to the sports tourism part of that conversation as well. We need to be attracting big tournaments to Albuquerque so that Albuquerque residents can show off who we really, really are. But again, it goes right back to the crime and homelessness and the leadership issue. And as mayor, I will make sure that I address that crime, homelessness, and leadership issue so that we can bring the people here that will make our city better. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex Ubayez?
Yeah, I think there's some great ideas out there. I think collaboration with you is the top among them, is looking at the calendar, seeing where the ebbs and flows are, seeing what celebrations and events coincide with the times where we need to encourage people to come here, then investing in those events and those times and finding an excuse and a reason to draw people here. But I do think, too, we look at the conventions that we already have, and we look at the draw that we already have, we hear the same complaints of people who come here, which is this is not a place they want to stay. And so I think it is foundational for us to deal with homelessness and with crime. I think for us as a city, if we're not thinking about building up our downtown and our transit corridors to places that people want to live and walk and work and populate, so that when people come to our city, they see it as a thriving and living and breathing city, then we will never draw that here no matter how many events we have, no matter how many conventions we have. That is the number one concern I hear from folk who visit our city, is they walk our streets and they don't see a place they want to be. And so for us, that means smart public safety. It means having police that respond quickly through a unified 911. It means having the right response through a fully funded ACS. And it means, yes, mental health investments and transitional housing to get people off of the streets. These things are foundational because the more that we invest, in events and bringing people here, the more we might deter people if we don't take care of our backyard first.
Thank you. Eddie Varela?
Okay. We all agree on one thing, and that's the homeless and the crime issue. I can take care of that. I have real plans for the homeless, and it transcends into what you do for business. But as tourism goes, one of the things that I would like to do, I'd like to see our zoo double in size. Every tourist I ever met in Albuquerque is going to the zoo. All right? We have a great zoo. I love our zoo, but we can make it better. I do the same thing and go to the cities. I want to go to the zoo, and I see wonderful things like a giant atrium for butterflies in Houston. I can do that here. We can do that and bring more tourists to our town. Second balloon fiesta, and thank you, Mayor. There's no reason why we can't do that. I mean, I talk to balloon people all the time, and they're saying, well, it's one time a year, and we gotta do it. Let's do it twice. An arena. This is very important to me. We don't have an arena. We have Tingley Coliseum, and it's great. Rio Rancho has an arena, and they are stealing tourists from us because they have a facility to bring in big names and whatever. We need an arena, and I'll work towards that example so that we can get more tourists in here and quit being so famous about Breaking Bad and start talking about things that are good that happen here. All right, roller derby. I was a fire chief in California for 8 years, and I went to the roller derby in Los Angeles, and it fascinated me because it's a perfect sport for Albuquerque. We have roller derby in the park, but you would not believe how many people come in from all over the world to go to roller derby. Let's do that. All right. Racing. I've already talked to the people up in the West about more racing cars here. Racing's huge. We'll do that. I will wipe out the art program. I promise you. It's gone. So that we can have tourists come up and down Central and see Route 66. Okay? They can't do it now. We don't want them to do it. All right? Archery. It's a massive sport in our country. We need an archery program, a league. And I'm being told to stop.
All right.
So I'll stop.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
Darren White?
I think we should have a third balloon fiesta.
You got me.
That's not the first time this has happened, so it's an inside joke. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm so cold I forgot the question. Look, the one thing we have to do is we have to, the Balloon Fiesta, of course it's important, but we have to have our city in a state that it's a great place to come to every day of the year. We shouldn't just clean it up because we have a big event like the Balloon Fiesta. And so we've all talked about, it's very clear where we need to be and where we need to go. And I think once we do that, it will reset the table. It will reset the narrative about what Albuquerque is all about and what it does have to offer. Because Louis is right. I mean, we have breathtaking views. We have a climate that's the envy of the nation. But we have a secret. And unfortunately, it's getting out and it's starting to affect us. And so I say we're at a tipping point. We need to fix it. We need to get back to basics. But most importantly, we've got to get back to a place to where we are proud, each and every one of us, of the city that we live in. And then you will benefit from that also.
Thank you. Mailing Armijo.
So yes, with Darren on, we have to fix the crime and the homelessness for sure. But when I think about this question, I think of different cities. Like Seattle, you have the Space Needle. St. Louis, you have the Arch.
Tingley Beach.
Okay. Keep trying, Louis. You know,
Hey, it's
so
nice.
these are things like I think like what would be, you know, it's almost like I would put it out as a contest to the city of Albuquerque. Like what would be the thing that people would want to come year round to Albuquerque to see? And they're all built. The Alamo in San Antonio was built, right? So I get we have the natural landscapes and all the pretty things, but what would really bring somebody here to Albuquerque? I don't know if it's a roller coaster downtown. I mean, I might piss Alex off because he lives down there, but you know, we could do it. That's what I think about. I'm like, what is the thing that's going to bring people to Albuquerque? I mean, we talk about jobs and development and economic growth and all, and that's cool. We need all those things. But what could we build or do to be that, you know, the Space Needle or the Arch? What is it? That's what I've been thinking about. And that question, this isn't the first time this question has come up. You know, and so the other part of this is there are a lot of conferences that happen around the country. And I'm not sure why, and I'm sure crime is part of it, but we need to look at actively recruiting these conferences. And I'm sure that they do that. But what is it that what do they need help so that we can do more and get more here? I don't know what that is, where the disconnect is, but let's find the problem and solve it. But I want all of you to think about that thing, because every time I put it out to a group, I get like 10 ideas. 9 are not great, 1 maybe. So, you know, but think about it. I think that might be what we can kind of like bring people here, something attractive. Not the mayor, but you know, something. I'm just kidding. Tim, I'm just kidding.
All right. Thank you. All right. I think that's all our questions, right, Joel? Or is there more?
No, that's it. And
Okay.
closing remarks.
Yeah. How long do they have for closing remarks? All right. You guys each get 2 minutes for closing remarks. I'm going to go down the line. We just started with Mayor Keller. So Luis Sanchez, would you like to go first?
Thank you, Gabrielle. For me, I was born and raised in Albuquerque. I'm a retired law enforcement officer for 26 years. I actually am a small business owner and a city councilor. So my experience puts me in the right path. I've already pretty much see myself in that seat, and I understand the different things that each and everybody goes through here. Each and every person goes through. It's one of those things that we all see each and every day, and we all feel it. It's experiences that we feel. What I bring to City Hall is I'm going to bring a whole different culture. I'm going to bring a culture of a spirit of excellence, transparency, accountability, and make sure that we have ethics everywhere to make sure that we are doing the right things. We have a auditing department right now at City Hall that is doing their job, but those audits aren't coming out. So we need to make sure that when I'm in as a mayor, we will make sure to work with those entities to make sure that we are doing the right things, to make sure that everything is transparent. We'll be a data-driven organization so that you can get on your computer and know exactly what's going on with each and every item. You'll know how many police officers are working the streets right now. You'll know how many PSAs are working the streets. You'll know who's working at the park and the guy that's actually out there cutting the grass, so that you can talk to him and say hello to him by name. That's the kind of city that I want to bring to Albuquerque, is a city where we're all working together, we all know what's going on, and it's amazingly transparent. It's very, very, very important to me that I work and listen to each and every person in the city. I'll actually have a mayor's open office hours so that if anybody has any kind of issues, they can walk in and talk to me. Not only issues, but great ideas to move our city forward. Thank you. Louis Sanchez, Louis for ABQ.
Thank you. Alex Ubayas?
Yeah, thank you for having us here. This was such a joy to sit down with each of you. Thank you for the work that you do in bringing people to our city and in introducing them to the vibrancy that is Albuquerque. My name's Alex Ubayas. I was most recently your United States Attorney here, so the Chief Federal Law Enforcement Officer for all of New Mexico. But I spent my whole career here in public service and public safety, starting as a crimes against children prosecutor at the DA's office to being a cartel investigator for the feds before I was U.S. Attorney. What it taught me was that nuanced approach to public safety that is foundational to everything we've been discussing today. The fact that sometimes we do need coordinated and very specific and surgical use of our law enforcement to hold those who are driving misery in our community to account. But oftentimes what we need to do is actually track the problem and treat the problem by what causes it, which is addiction and mental health overwhelmingly for what we are seeing in our city. And so I am bringing a smart approach to the major problems that are pressing on all of us, the foundational problems that we feel in our community without which, if we do not handle rights, we will lose this city that we love so much. So more importantly than my resume, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a downtown resident, and I think my kids would love a roller coaster. And they would love 2 balloon fiestas, right? They would love a roller derby. But I think what they would love more is feeling safe in our community and seeing opportunity for their future. And I think that's what all of our kids want. I think that's what the future of our city is we have to build a city that feels safe. We have to build the opportunities, the partnerships with UNM and CNM, so folks have paths forward and things that they look forward to, are passionate about and love, and that they build in the city to make it better. And so I'm running for mayor to build that city for all of us. You can look up more about me at alexforalbuquerque.com. It's been such a pleasure being with all of you. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you. Eddie Varela?
Okay, this is the part I dislike because I have so much more to say, but we were limited in time. Thank you for having us here. It's been a wonderful audience. I like the format. It was great. We've seen some formats that weren't quite as good as yours, and so thank you for that. Quickly, I am Eddie Varela. I was born and raised in this town. I love my town. I grew up in downtown Albuquerque. I watched our town go from a beautiful, vibrant place to what it is today, and it's not pretty. Now, you asked questions. You heard about my crime plan, homeless. I'm not going to go into that again, but I'm going to tell you what my mind is always murking. What can we bring to Albuquerque? Think about the Olympics and all the sports that you watch. I was at a track meet at the convention center 2 or 3 years ago, and Lyle set a world's record in the 60-meter run. World's record here in Albuquerque. Guess what? That track meet wasn't even advertised. I happened to find out. The next day in the paper, they didn't even talk about it. As mayor, I'll make sure that we know upcoming events are coming and get you guys ready for the big thing. When I say look at the Olympics, Olympic archery is a huge sport. Okay, we already have the downtown convention center. We can host these things because they're all over. Olympic air gun. Okay, what is that? It's an Olympic sport that the very wealthy like to participate in. We could bring that here at minimal cost. We have facilities that we can do these things. You got to think outside the box here, all right? Yes, we have to solve climate thing, but I think outside the box. And when I'm sitting here, okay, and I really dwell on what we can do. I'm Eddie Varela, born and raised here, 30 years in the fire service as a fire administrator. I work for 6 different mayors. I like to refer to them as the good, the bad, and the ugly, but I learned. I learned. Go to my website, Eddie Varela for mayor. Vote for me. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you. Darren White.
Thank you all. This was a lot of fun. We really did enjoy it. And Eddie is right. This was it was a little bit more relaxed. It wasn't as high pressure, and some of them are kind of a little edgier. And this was a lot of fun. I believe that the fundamental role of government is to keep people safe. And that is exactly the way that I will lead. Because I look at it this way. If you don't feel safe in your home, or driving on the roads, or wherever you're at in your community, nothing else really matters. Maybe the trash doesn't get picked up on time, and maybe the roads aren't in the most perfect condition. But to you, the thing that matters most is being able to be secure and to be safe, because that is the most important part of your quality of life. And it's something that we've lost in our community, not just because we have out of control crime, but also because we have a homeless problem that is getting worse. It's not getting better. And so what I say to you is, we all deserve better. We know that Albuquerque can be better. And it won't happen unless we have change. Because the mayor's been here for 8 years. God bless him. I've said I'm only going to do this for 4. I'm not trying to pad my political resume, and I'm not trying to punch my ticket for higher office. I don't want to be 70 years old and being the mayor. I want to get in, I want to roll up my sleeves, and I want to clean up the mess, because I think each and every one of you and us, we deserve it. I thank you for your time. My name is Darren White, and I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you. Mei-Ling Armijo.
Thank you. Thank you all for having us. Darren's right. We this is a little bit more relaxed than the 50 we've done already. So thank you for that. A lot of you know me and have worked with me and have seen what I have done for this community. I mean, as your director of economic development, I did $1.4 billion in private investment. I helped create over 5,000 jobs. That I have delivered, and I'll deliver again. So I want you to, when you're sitting there, imagine having a mayor who understands that government works for you, that understands that when you come and get a permit or have your plan reviewed and need something from us, that we work at your speed. We work for you. Imagine having a mayor who understands your industry in such detail that wants to support you, but not slap you in the face with other fees and ignore you when we talk about lodgers taxes. Imagine a mayor who cares about your industry, who's actually worked in your industry. I forgot I did that for a year in college, and understands what hard work you have put into it to get where you are, because it's not easy. The hotel hospitality industry is hard, and I get that. So let me help you build wealth in this community, because that's what we're here to do. We're not here to tax you and fee you to death. We're helped to create an environment where you can live your life, build wealth, and have the quality of life that you deserve. Because the first thing, quality of life for me, is safety, but it's also your ability to build your own wealth. Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, Mayor Keller.
Well, this has been a great discussion, and also appreciate how specific it's been. It is refreshing not to have just 2 questions on crime and homelessness. I do want to clarify the record. I do not want to be mayor when I'm 70. So, Darren, we can agree on that one for sure. I want to acknowledge, though, what everyone is acknowledging, which is these are tough times. I get that. And I also want to acknowledge that every person up here and every person in here wants a safe city. That's what's so interesting about this election. It's not about intent or will. It's not about just talking about the problem, public safety, we need more public safety. It's about how to actually fix that problem. And that's what I've been doing. The real work to rebuild a police department, to hire more officers, to use things like technology to keep us safe. It's about deep change. Deep change takes time. It's not the flip of a switch. It's not just changing out a person. It's about literally pulling our city out of 40 years of decline. That's what we've been doing. So I see what you see all around you. But I also see that there's other things that are happening that show a path forward. And we've got to keep going on that path. We're the 7th best airport in the country. We're a top 10 growing city in America. GDP, wages, number of jobs, all up in the last 2 years. And finally, This year, crime is coming down. We are going the right direction, and now is no time to turn back. Also, you see real results. Look at Winrock. Look at 7th and Central. Look at Sawmill. Look at the rail yards in February when CNM opens. Look at what we're doing with the rail trail. All around you, you see our city coming back to life because of this real work. So this race is not about the past 4 years. It's about who is the best equipped for the next 4 years to deal with these tough challenges. That's why we need strong, experienced leadership going forward, and that's why I'm asking you for another term.
Thank you all to all 6 candidates for participating. DeWall, did you have any closing? Thank you.
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, I was at NAIOP's Fight Night, and I saw some of you candidates there. And we didn't want this to turn into Fight Night Part 2, so I wanted to thank Gabrielle Burkhart for keeping our video and creating this atmosphere. We love our organization. The reason you guys feel so warm and cozy here, or maybe not warm, but cozy, is because we are the hospitality industry. We do represent.
That's right. That's right.
This is how we, welcome our visitors to the state. So, again, we appreciate having such a great panel here, such a great set of candidates, and we're so close now. Just wanted to thank you guys again for, graciously sharing your time with us and all your perspective. And of course, to Joni and her team here for